Look, I ain't even putting music on. I'm so hot and discombobulated.
It's all right. Take your time. I don't go to bed till 9. My husband's like,
Hey,
"What are you
everybody, we will be right with you with remixing. Yes, yes, yes. You had a sneak peek of my guest, and I can't wait for you to meet her. All right, this is Remixing Relationships. Hi, everybody. Hi, I hope all is well. Now, if you watch on time, you would have saw a sneak peek of my guest. We're over here talking about how hot we are, and we're both hot, and we're in different places. I'm in Maryland, she's in Pennsylvania. We're both like this, like we're sitting in the same room. Are you hot? I'm hot. But welcome to Remixing Relationships, where we dive deep into the art of creating and sustaining healthy connections. I am Kendall Anish, your host, your remix coach, your fave life coach, and I appreciate that you're here. Together today, we will explore fresh perspectives and strategies to transform your relationships. Whether you're looking to strengthen your relationship, heal your relationship, or completely remix your connections, you're in the right place. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. Well, this has been season 1 of Remixing Relationships. I'm so excited because we are coming to the end of the season. And I said, you know what? I want to have a guest with me. Then I was thinking, I was like, okay, the first season, this would be 13 episodes. Do I want to stop at 13? You know, people talk about the number 13. I don't know. I'm going to talk to my guests about that. Or do I want to do a solid 14 and recap and then come back just in a couple of weeks for season 2? Now, I'm not new to this podcast thing. If you're just tuning in, I have a podcast called Shine with Kendall Anish that's in its 12th season. And I've done other podcasts before over the years when it used to be called online radio. I even had an online radio station as I was the coach. And I say all that to say, I still get giddy when I'm doing a podcast and I'm doing what I love. And oftentimes I talk about relationships. So it was a natural progression to do a relationship podcast. So I'm so pleased with this season. We've had amazing guests, amazing topics. We kept it all the way real. Remember, I told y'all early in season 1, I said, get your swim caps on because we're diving deep, and put your construction boots on because we are going to be stepping on toes. And I said, sometimes we might be stepping on my toes because it has to be an authentic type of podcast. If I'm talking about remixing relationships, promoting healthy relationships, doing things differently, right? Because you know what they say about doing the same thing the same way. It's called insanity. So I wanted to bring, as a life coach and as the remix coach, I wanted to bring a podcast to you where we're doing life coaching as well as keeping it all the way real to promote healthy relationships. And throughout the season, I talked about healthy relationships. And if you've been in unhealthy relationships or all you've seen is unhealthy relationships, you're not going to be able to recognize it. You're not even going to know it's unhealthy because it's the norm. So I was bringing up different subjects and topics and people's experiences and my own, just to show you the difference. And at the end of each episode, I was talking about how do we remix this particular subject we're talking about. So next week, I'm going to go over a recap of everything that we talked about. But this will be the last episode of the season. And then next week, you'll get just the recap of the season so we can close it out with 14 episodes in season 1. But I said, who can I get for the finale? And I'm so pleased to have my guest today as we're talking about this episode is going to be remixing scenarios that had happened or that we've experienced, and what would be the healthy way to handle that problem, situation, or conversation. And my guest today is Sheila Dunbar. She's a podcaster and she's now an author. I'll let her talk to you about that. But the reason why I wanted to have her on here is because at one point, and y'all know my saying, it's never too late to remix your life at any age, stage, or phase. So she had a podcast in the work, but she was afraid to do her podcast. And I didn't even remember saying this, but I'll let her tell you what I told her. And she has been off running, doing episode after episode after episode of her own podcast, which I am so proud of her and so happy that she is doing it and doing it well on a high level. So without further ado, my guest for this episode 13 of Remixing Relationships, is Miss Sheila Dunbar.
Well, hello. Thank you for that nice, beautiful introduction. I feel so special.
You are special. Hello, beautiful one.
Thank you so much, Candela. And I just want to say, first off, I love what you're doing with this podcast, with with the relationships and helping people in their relationships and giving them advice. Because a lot of times people, they jump into relationships and they don't really know each other very well, and they're just jumping in, and the minute something goes wrong or they don't like what something is said, then they're jumping out of the relationship.
Yes.
And bringing this type of information to the forefront is helping a lot of people. So I congratulate you. I thank you for that. And also I want to thank you for asking me to be on your series finale of your first season. Yeah. And I'm just so elated, and I thank you again for thinking of me. I
Of
appreciate it.
course. I always think of you. You know that. And I'm so
Yes.
proud of you with your podcast. So tell the people, when you were afraid to do your podcast, you said that I inspired
Girl.
you to do your podcast, but I didn't even remember saying, what did I tell you?
You said because you said to me, do it afraid. You have to do it afraid. And you
Yeah.
even sent me a message. I think I still have the message. Like you got to do it afraid. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. And that's what it was. And from that conversation and that text, that actually was a DM, DM that made me just say, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I was worried about this and how it was going to sound and how I looked and all these other things. And I just did it scared. And now it's like I'm in my fourth season. You know, I'm doing my sixth episode is coming out of my fourth season on Wednesday. So I'm like, I just want to thank you for that. That you're helping me with I was able to write about my mom in your book, and I love that. Because I love my mom and I wanted to honor her, and you were able to give me that platform to do it, and I appreciate it. I so appreciate it. All the things, and like I said, you're my mentor. I look up to you because you're doing things, and I want to be right there. I always hear, you want to be around people. You want to know people who know more than you, who are smarter than you. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You
Yeah.
want someone smarter and someone who knows more. And I'm so glad that we met and that God put you in my life, because there has been a shift of things since I've known you. And I just want to give you your flowers. I got to give you your flowers, because there's a lot of things I don't think I would be doing had I not met you. And you gave me those just do it afraid. Just do it with Nike. Just do it afraid. When you gave me that confidence, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I thank you for that.
And I appreciate you so much for saying that. And thank you, because sometimes in this business, you don't know if you're, and personally, in this business and doing what I'm doing and doing it so long, and sometimes hitting a glass ceiling. And
Mm-hmm.
then, but you saying what you said and those kind words that you said, it means a lot to me. It really does. It means more than you probably even think it means to me. So I appreciate that. I really, really do. You know that.
I know.
You know it. But they got to stay tuned because I got another show that I'm creating and producing, and Sheila's going to be a part of it. And we're trying to just get these schedules
That's right.
together. And we got
It's gonna
something
be a
good.
blockbuster. It's gonna be
We
a blockbuster.
got something good because
Yes,
y'all know
yes.
this mom is always like when I saw her, I said, "Oh, I got another idea, but we're gonna focus on this one." And I'm telling you, it's gonna be something that you've never seen visually. You've never seen it,
Mhm.
and some of the things that we're going to be discussing, you've never seen it. So that's going to come to you before this year is out. So that is a sneak preview um, of something that Sheila's going to be a part of. And that's all I'm going to say right now, but I'm so excited about it. So we got to get these dates together so you can
Yes,
see this. And this is going to roll out before 2024.
that's right.
All right, Miss Sheila. So
Yes.
we are talking about remixing relationships. So when I called you and gave you the information, I said, well, we're going to be talking about real life
Yeah.
real
Oh.
life scenarios on how we could have approached something better in a relationship, or we could have done something different. We could have remixed it
Mhm.
essentially, because promoting healthy relationships and doing things differently, because hindsight is 50-50. Like
Yeah.
they say 2020, but 50, it's like clear 2020, meaning that we can see our vision is so much clearer when something is behind us.
Mhm. Yes.
Experienced it, but when we're looking at it, we think that we're making the best decision or we're saying the right words, and sometimes we're not. And you said, I have something that came to mind the very first time. Now, Sheila is married. I'll let you talk about that. She's been married
Yeah.
forever. So check on my YouTube channel. I did an interview with relationships because on my other podcast, Shine with Kendall and East, the whole 11th season, I focused on relationships.
Mhm.
And that went over very well. And that prompted me to say, you know what, let me just do a podcast focusing on relationships, because Shine with Kendall and East is all about life coaching, and we talk about healing and different things. So I said, let me create a platform where it's about relationships. And her husband have an amazing story. So if you haven't seen that,
Yeah.
if you're on my YouTube channel, first subscribe and check that out. And then this will all make sense what Sheila is about to say right now. But Sheila, you got
Well,
the
I'm just gonna tell you a little story, backstory. I
floor.
have been married 24 years, but my husband and I have been together 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we met in 1999 and we got married in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I remember, we were um we were out to lunch. We would meet at lunch. At that time, we were living in New York, and we both worked in Manhattan, and we met for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting down having lunch, and I think we were together. We met in April of 1999, and we started dating. We went on our first date in May, and this had to be like towards the end of June. We were at lunch, and he says to me, "You know, I love you." And I'm like, "Well, I don't. I can probably grow to love you, but I don't love you right now." you know, and I felt I didn't realize it at first. When I said it to him, but we've talked about it. Um, in the past or afterwards, he's like, you kind of hurt my feelings with that. I was expecting you to tell me you loved me. And I said, well, I knew you were going to be the person, because I felt that calling. I had asked God for you, and I felt that you were going to be that person, but I had to be honest with you. And sometimes that was not the right way I should have said it. I should have said, you are someone that I prayed for, and I know that I am falling in love with you. You know, there's ways I could have said it other than that to have, not to hurt his feelings.
Yeah.
Um, and that's one of the things I think of often, because he was the first one to tell me he loved me, and I didn't. I just felt bad the way I said it. I didn't, not at the time, but afterwards, you know. And when I went back to my office, I'm like, oh, I wonder if he's gonna call me again after I said that. But we spoke, and we talked, and he understood what I meant. It just didn't
Mhm.
come out the way it should have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you said, well, this is when you told me this earlier, like, and I can't remember. I don't think you talked about that on the podcast when you and
No, we didn't.
but it's so interesting. So he told you because you were being honest. And I
Yes.
think it's a lot to be said about being honest. And some people just tell you things that they think you want to hear
Right.
because they don't want to hurt your feelings. And I always say I want honesty. Sometimes that honesty, baby, sometimes that honesty be stinging. It be stinging right here.
Yeah,
Like you
it
can feel the
does.
honesty up here. But I would rather someone be honest with me and I know what I'm dealing with than to be delusional and think something else and they've been
Right.
lying to me and I can't make my own decision or come up with my own um, rationale or reasoning or whatever it is when the truth is being told. So there's a lot to be said about being truthful
Yeah.
because we are living in a society where everything is fake, everything is phony, everything is a lie. People are politically correct. They don't want to
Yeah.
say the wrong things. They
Mm-hmm.
don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. They won't, and I get that because nobody wants to set out to intentionally hurt someone's feelings. Sometimes your feelings gets hurt in the crossfire, but nobody wants to, especially somebody they care about. So I get it.
Exactly.
But for you to be honest, I think that that was important. But you feel like you could have done it differently, or you could
Oh,
have remixed it
yeah.
in a way. How would you have said it? I know you said a little bit about how you would say it,
I would have
but if
just,
somebody said, "Okay, let's reenact." Well, I just want you to know that Sheila girl, I love you. And then you got was it 90, was it 99?
1999.
What you got? I'm trying to think what song was
Um,
out in
oh
99.
my goodness, I don't even
Uh
remember.
let's
I,
see. Some R&B. You know, I got R&B in my head going
oh my
around. But he
goodness,
said
I
she
don't even remember.
girl.
Oh, you know what our song was? We had a song. We
What?
even had a song. It was Regina Bell. Do you want to get serious?
Oh, I love me some Regina Bell.
Yeah. Then that was the song. That was the song that was playing on our first date when I went home, and I was sing and I after our date, I went home and I was playing it in my car, and that was the song that came on. And that's why I knew he was the person
Wow.
for me. That's why I
Wow.
knew he was the person for me, because I had feelings for him, but I just knew I wasn't in love yet,
Yeah.
or
And
what
how
I
long
thought
had
would
it
be love.
been? Yeah, how
Hmm?
long had it been since he said I love you? Like how long had it been?
It had been maybe 2 months.
Okay.
Two
So he
months because
knew.
we he was quick, and I didn't I wanted to be sure.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that I will ask God for something, and he'll send 100 signs. And I'll say, well, you know what, God, if you can, red's my favorite color. If you send something in red, then I know for sure that that's for real. And that's what it was. I knew
Yeah.
I had asked for God. I prayed for everything. The tone with everything was set perfectly for our relationship, how I met him, what I
Yeah.
asked for. I got out of a relationship from someone, and I asked God to send me someone. He sent it to me in church. He was, everything was perfect. It was like God
Yeah.
said, "Here you go. I'm giving him to you."
Yeah.
And but I still had to be sure. And
Yeah.
to me, 2 months was, I don't know, like, being that I'd been in relationships with people before, and in a long time, and they've never said I love you. I was usually the first one. So to hear it from him,
Yeah.
I was taken a little bit aback. I didn't know
Yeah.
if it was for, really, he really did love me, and that's why I came out. Well, I know I can love you, but I don't love you right now.
Yeah.
And I feel that, and it did. It hurt his feelings, and that was one of the things I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I didn't want him to feel like, well, I'm telling this woman, giving her, laying out my feelings, because as women of color, that a lot of our men, black men, they don't wear their hearts on their sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really come out and show their feelings. So
Mm-hmm.
to be vulnerable like that after 2 months, and
Yeah.
for someone to come back to you with a response like that, again, I thought I was being honest, but I knew I could have said it. I felt I could have said it in a better way.
Yeah. And also you were leaning on your understanding
Hmm.
of love, not what you believe God, to now to be true, that God
Exactly.
set up and he was leading you that way. And he told that man, and he knew, and that, and like you said, when you went home after hearing Regina Bell, but you were leaning on your understanding
Hmm.
about the length of time and how long it should be. And it was too soon, but
Hmm.
God is on time, God. And he said, okay,
Yep.
but you were, and you were being cautious. And oftentimes in relationships, especially if you've experienced maybe unhealthy relationships or different types of relationships, it pulls you back a little bit, and it allows you to, it doesn't allow you to be naturally open
Hmm.
at times, because you
Exactly.
are protective of yourself and guarded, because only you know what you've experienced
Hmm.
and been, where he
Yeah,
was totally open.
and exactly. And I had been in relationships where um abusive and just not the type that I was used to with him.
Yeah.
He was a different type of man that I was with. So I didn't
Mhm.
know how to kind of like deal with him.
You want to go,
Most of the men,
we'll go a little
most
further with that.
well,
What do you
most
mean?
of the men that I dealt with, even though at the time I had rededicated my life to God, and I had a lot of relationships I was in were not Christian relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, we've spoken about, I think, on the other podcast, or maybe not, but prior to meeting my husband, I was in a relationship with someone who I had known when I was in college, and um 11 years later we met again. I was walking home and I met him, and we started this relationship, and I was wanted to rededicate my life to God, and
Mm-hmm.
I would get up in the morning after being with him, and I would go to church, and he wouldn't go. He
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't, and then after church, I would go back to his house, and he would cook dinner, and this was the relationship that we had. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like he was he was a bad man. He just, where my life was going, we were going in two different directions. We were unequally yoked.
Mm-hmm.
And um I remember, and this was another thing, we something happened, and I got upset with him, and I said some things, and I said, "You know what? I don't think this relationship is going to work." And at that point, I decided, I got down on my knees and I asked God, "W- please, I'm at this age. I want to be married. I want to find
Mm-hmm.
someone that's equally yoked, that loves me for me, you
Mm-hmm.
know." And I remember it was October of 1998, and in April of 1999, I met my husband.
I remember you talked a little bit about that,
Mhm.
and I think that it's so telling of God, right? When you
Yes.
ask for something and you surrendered and say,
Mhm.
you know what, because you were trying to do the right thing, like you said, even when you were with him, you were getting up and you were going to church,
Mhm.
and you knew, because you were unevenly yoked, that he was not the one. So
Exactly.
once again, honesty
Mhm.
comes up. So that is the
Yeah.
theme. You were completely honest, saying, you know what, this is not going to work. We're not evenly yoked. And then you prayed for your husband.
Yeah.
But that's so funny with us, right? With people, you prayed, you said, I'm done with this. I'm leaning into this idea of finding my husband. Then when he comes and be like, I love you, like,
Well, wait. Yeah, you got to hold up. You're going too fast. Because I'm asking. This is what I'm asking God for, and Kendall, I'm gonna tell you. I think out of my age, I'm 59 years old. That was one of the prayers that I must say I poured my heart out. You know how they was in one of the Psalms or one of the books that they're talking about how David, when his son was dying with his son with Bathsheba, and he was on his face praying. That's what I was doing,
Yeah.
literally, because I was at a point, I fooled around, I hung out, I did all these things, and now I'm like, enough is enough. I'm ready to be the woman that I need to be. And again, I didn't I wanted something, but then I also God had to prepare me to be a wife.
There you go.
You
I was
know,
just thinking that as you were saying that.
he had to prepare me to be a wife, and if I'm asking for a husband and I want all these things from my husband, I had to be prepared to be a wife, and I had to know how to be a wife, because I knew how to be a girlfriend. I knew how to be um uh the other girl. I knew how to be a whole bunch of things, but I didn't know how to be a wife. And I had to learn that,
Yeah.
and I think that was another thing that kind of set me back from that whole when my husband first said to me he loved me, because I'm like, oh, okay, what does this mean? I mean, and then
Yeah.
there was just things that happened. I'm like, oh my God, and then I realized God is answering, stop being so stupid. God is answering the prayers that you were praying for like
Right.
a couple of months ago. He's
But
answering those
immediately
prayers.
it came
Yes,
Amos
immediately.
9:13. It came Amos 9:13.
Yes,
That's one of our favorite scriptures. It won't be long now. You know,
suddenly.
blessings
Suddenly.
suddenly,
And I
immediately.
wasn't even thinking of, and it was like I got on, I prayed about it. I think I fasted, but I prayed about it. And I said, okay, that was it. And I went on, going to church, serving, and lo and behold, we were doing a fashion show. I think I told you we were doing a
You
fashion
did. You
show.
did.
And I was in the fashion show, and one of the girls in the fashion show, my brother was putting it all together, and we were in it, and he's like, do you know any other girls who want to be in the fashion show? And she called her friend, and her friend didn't want to be in it, but she's like, oh, maybe my brother wants to be in it. And my older brother's like, we don't need no more boy. I'm like, listen, we need all the people we can get. We'll work around it. And girl, when he walked in there, that was it.
First describe it. How tall you are and
I,
how tall he is,
I
and
am,
talk
I am.
about that, because I love this. When he walked into the room,
He
let's
walked in.
start.
Well,
Let's start
actually, I
there.
saw him. We were standing out on the front porch of the place where we were rehearsing, and I was standing with one of my friends. And I'm 5'8", and I saw this tall, slender man walking down the street, and I'm like, I think this is the guy. Because I've never met him. I said, I think this is the guy. And I went on back in, and I'm like, oh, I told my older brother, I think one of the guys are here. And he came in, and I'm like, oh my goodness. He's 6'7", you know, beautiful spirit. Um, and we just started talking. And I remember my brother was going to pair him with another girl who was almost as tall as I was, who was tall, just as tall as I was. And I remember calling him, and I remember calling him. I was at work that day, and I called him. I said, listen, let me tell you something. That man, you make sure I walk with that man in every because we used to do like scenes, not just walking out. We do like little scenes in the fashion
Mhm.
show. I'm like, you make sure I walk out. I'm with that man in every scene. Every scene, that's the man I need to walk with.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
and that was it. And from there, we after the fashion show, we went on our first date. And that's, I'm like, this is the man that this is the man that I know I want to be, because I loved I loved how we were,
Mhm.
even um after we got married, and even a little before, we would play games, and there was a game we would play with our family called Taboo.
I used to
And
love
you know
Taboo.
Taboo, right?
I'm gonna
And
hold a Taboo right now.
yeah, we were so in sync and so connected that I could say one thing, one word, and he would know exactly what I'm talking about. Or he would say one word and I know exactly what he's talking about. And that's what you want in a relationship,
Mhm.
I mean, everything, and I always say this, everything is not going to be bells and roses and beautiful.
Mhm.
There's going to be days. I mean, it got to a point, I see these things on social media, and it's like, I didn't know when I was going to get married that I would have to make a choice of what we're going to have for dinner 365 days a year. And that's my biggest thing with my husband. What's for dinner? What's for dinner? What's for dinner?
He's
What's for
asking or
dinner?
you're asking? He's
He's
asking.
asking, what's for dinner? What are we having for dinner? There was one time, Kendall, I remember this because I posted it on Facebook and I got so many comments, but it was like, he's in one room and I'm in another, and he's texting me about what's for dinner. And I'm like, you know what? No one's gonna find the body. No one's gonna find the body because I'm gonna kill him. Yeah, but that's what it is, and to this day, he knows that's one of my pet peeves, but I've gotten better at it, because I'm
Yeah,
like,
you
I'm
remixed it. You remixed
yeah, I'll
it.
tell him, I'm not, he'll ask me, just before we started this, he called me because he's out, and he's like, "Hon, what you cook? What's for dinner?" And I'm like, I wasn't sure what you wanted because you changed so much, but you let me know, and I'll take care of it for you. Or sometimes I'll say I'm not entirely sure, but how about we kind of decide together? Do you have
Yeah,
what would you like?
yeah. And after
Because
25 years, like you've remixed some things, and I think that's
yes.
important to talk about. Since we're talking about remixing relationships, at 25 years ago, you weren't doing what you're doing now. Like what
25,
something right.
please.
So let's talk about some of the things that you might have done, or the way that you've said things, or certain things that maybe used to burn your biscuits a little bit, and how you've able to remix maybe your thoughts and what you think, and how you deal with it.
Well, there's are you with my husband, in my relationship, you mean, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah, well, because I mean, there's a lot of listen, when you're married, there's a lot of things. And
Mhm.
as you as you get older, there's different things in your relationship that changes, because you change, you're constantly growing.
Yeah.
um your activities change, what your interests change. Sometimes there are times me and my husband, we would go and we would sit and watch a movie, and I wouldn't even watch it. You know me, hey, you
You
know me,
sleep. You
I'm always sleeping
out.
early. And I'm like, he's like, oh, you want to go? Let's watch a movie. I'm like, okay. It wasn't about watching the movie. It was about the fact that I could lie on his shoulder or on his lap, and I'd
That
fall
part.
asleep. But we'd be together.
Yeah.
You know. Now our interests are different. He likes action. I'm like, oh, I don't think I could see another person kick somebody in the head. I can't. But so but it's different. So the way we handle those type of things, we try to come together. He'll watch what he wants to watch. If it's an action movie, and I'll watch like my because I love biographies and
Me
documentaries and
too.
things
They're
like
my
that. And
favorite.
and and one thing I love, like, there's a show, you know, it's called Tiny House Nation.
Oh, I
I can,
love
I can put that on and watch it.
yeah. We already are like kindred sisters, but I didn't know you were one of those too.
No, oh,
Me, I
listen,
am obsessed and very fascinated with tiny houses. I would
honey.
love
Oh, you are.
a tiny house one day. Sometimes I will go on YouTube. I remember
Mhm.
it's times I've gone on YouTube and gone down the rabbit hole and go from one thing or to TikTok to see the tiny homes or the people who do the vlogs with the
Yeah.
tiny homes. So I'm
I
with you on
love those. And,
me too.
listen, if my husband was a 6'7", we'd be living in a tiny home. Because I can maneuver that, you know. But, you know, those are things that
You're
he'd be
almost
like,
six
"Are
feet
you watching?"
yourself.
I know, right? But he's like, you're watching that again? I'm like, yes. But then there are things that we'll come together and watch, or we'll
Yeah.
wait to watch together. Like there's a show, he's like, oh, but this is our show. We watch it together. So even though our interests in
What
certain
show
things
is
have
that?
changed, but we still adapt. There's certain shows that we'll sit and we won't look at without each other. You
Yeah.
know, um, so those are type of things. Socializing. My husband doesn't. He doesn't like to go out and socialize. I love to go out. I love
Mhm.
to now don't get me wrong, I'm not out, I don't want to go out every day of the week, but I, I like to I like to go out and do things, and if he doesn't want to go, I'll ask him, why don't you, why is it are you tired? Is it maybe if we could do this time, maybe next week or tomorrow we'll do what you want. If you do
Yeah.
this, let's do that. It's compromise.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or in the past, I'd be like, all right, well, if you don't want to go, don't go. Stay home.
Yeah.
I'll do it
Yeah.
myself. You know.
Yeah.
But it's that it's compromise. It's just um I saw one day, and I'm like, this is so true. People say, oh, relationship is 50-50. It's not fifty
Nah.
fifty.
I did a
It's
show on that talking about
you
that.
did. Maybe
Mhm.
that's where it's
Mhm.
what's happening during that time, because sometimes there may be maybe I can only give you 20% and you
Come
have to
on.
take the 80, or maybe I can give 80 and you have to do 20,
Yep.
or maybe you can do 40 and I have to do 60. it's
Mm-hmm.
it's not a 50-50 50-50, and that was one of the things, Kendall, that I had to learn. My husband and I, we had to learn that,
Yeah.
because there's going to be times when he's going to be able to do, and I'm like, I'm just not. I mean, recently I went through a health battle,
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
where I got vertical and I was hospitalized.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, it wasn't even the fact that I was hospitalized, but it was the aftermath of it, where I was not really myself for about 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
I couldn't really walk right. I had no balance. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
do anything. I couldn't even drive. Everything my husband had to do. So how,
Mm-hmm.
it's not 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's what you can do at that time, where you're at in your relationship, and what you can do at that time. And if that person can't do the 50 of the 60%, then
Mhm.
you do it if you're
Yeah.
able to do it.
That
But
part.
it's not 50-50. It
That
definitely
part.
isn't 50-50.
And I'm glad that you brought that up again because it can't be said enough. Because
Mm-hmm.
people are in fantasy worlds, and everything. Like always say, like most of the things that we see aren't even real
Yeah.
when it comes to social media and what people
Yeah.
want you to see, because people are not being honest. Some are now slowly opening up saying, listen, our relationship is not perfect. You had
Mm-hmm.
Michelle Obama, our forever first lady, say, I didn't like my husband for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I can
You
relate to that.
Exactly. Exactly. So people are now becoming more forthcoming.
Yeah.
Not to say that you have to put all your business out there, but so many people are hiding behind, oh, we have a perfect relationship. Look at us, these 60
Mm-hmm.
seconds on this reel that we're, living our best life. And sometimes it's not. They're closing the camera and somebody's going in their perspective area and they're going in
Mm-hmm.
there. And not to say there are unhealthy relationships out there, but there are a lot of unhealthy relationships. And, I really want to try to remix them. I've been in unhealthy
Yeah.
relationships, so I know what that's like.
Yeah.
But I also know the fresh air of a healthy relationship, and there is a difference. But like I said, so many people don't know and even want to talk about it. So I do commend that you have always been honest, even
Yeah.
with your husband and even here today, saying, you know what, it wasn't. So when I said about Michelle Obama, saying that about Obama, you said that's real. You want to unpack that a little bit?
No,
How do you know it's real?
because there is. I mean, there's times, and I know listen, I am not perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and m- my husband knows he's not perfect.
That's
There are
right.
times when I know I'm the type of person I ask my husband, I'll ask my husband to do something, and if he don't jump up and do it right away, I'm like, what? uh, I actually did do that like 10 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
because that's how I am.
Yeah. Come on.
I want it done right away. But my husband's a little bit more laid back, and he's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm gonna take care of it. I'll get to it. I will definitely get to it. It may not be in my time when
Yeah.
I want them, but it will eventually get done. So
Mm-hmm.
I had to make allowances for that. But there are times, there was times when I'm like, oh my God, I can't deal with this man
Mm-hmm.
right now. I can't,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
I'm quite sure when I get on my okay, I need this done, I need this, I need this. There are days I wake up and I'm just on 10. If I
Yeah.
Especially the days that I'm back from the gym and
Mhm,
I'm a morning person because I go to bed
mhm.
with the chickens and I wake up with the roosters. And is that the roosters, right? Are they the roosters? Yes. And my husband is the total opposite.
Mhm.
He's a nighttime person. He will be up 1, 2 o'clock, but he'll sleep late. And I'm like, you're not supposed to be sleeping late. I'm up. You got to
And
get
that's
up
why
already.
we were doing this podcast, because I already know my girl Sheila goes there early. And I said, would you come on 8 o'clock? And she was like, anything for you. And I appreciate that. I don't take it lightly where somebody might be like, 8 o'clock is still early. My girl right here, she about to wash their face, tie her hair. She about to go to sleep right after this. Trust and believe.
Listen, I'm up like 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Mhm.
I'm at the gym.
Yeah.
And that starts my day, but
Yeah.
I'm very, very energetic,
Yes, you
and
are.
I've always believed in I got to get my rest because
Yeah.
if no one wants to see an unhappy Sheila, like my husband, like I said, there've been times, I know there are times when he don't want to have to deal with me. Because sometimes I don't want to have to deal with myself. I'm like, oh, Sheila, you got to chill out because you know and that's why I know when I saw that with Michelle Obama, I'm like, I know you know
Yeah.
there's times when you don't want you love them, but
That's
sometimes
real.
you just may not like them. You
Yeah.
may not like them right
Yeah.
now. And
Yeah.
I tell my husband that all the time. Sometimes I'm not no, I don't say that all the time, but I'll tell him, hon, I don't like you right now.
You do
You're
it.
not my
You do
favorite
a little,
person right now.
look, you do a little voice and a little head turn.
And I'm like, you're not my
No,
favorite
I
person.
just don't like you right
And
now.
I say nice, you're not my favorite person right now. But I still love
And
you.
what's he looking at you? He just like this.
I mean, my husband looks at me.
He knows.
He's like, I know. He has look my son. He's like, oh, that's just how mommy is. That's what he says. That's mommy. I'm used to you. I'm used.
You over there driving the men crazy, girl. The young
But
one and the old one.
listen, I'm the only woman in the house.
Yeah.
you know but
Yeah.
so that I can understand. Again, it's not always roses.
Yeah,
It's
it's real.
hard, and
Mhm.
these people jumping in and out of marriages because someone hurt their feelings, or someone, I mean, we went through a lot in my marriage, you
Mhm.
know
Yeah,
um
you guys did.
um and we've overcome it,
Let
and
me
we're
pause
still
for
going
one
through
second.
stuff.
Guys, if
Oh,
you have any questions or comments, please, if you're watching live or the playback, please put them in the comments. We'll get to all of your questions. But go ahead, Sheila, and thank you so much.
no, but I mean, we've gotten through those challenges, and we still have challenges. Things are always being thrown at us. Um,
Yeah.
the devil is always,
The devil is a liar.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's always trying to
yeah,
intervene,
yeah.
and sometimes, but that's when you need the break. If my husband will go out and he'll go for a walk, or I'll go for a
Mhm,
walk, or I'll put my headphones in and I'll listen to some gospel music or a podcast, and we connect, and then usually he'll apologize, or I will apologize. Most
mhm.
most times it's him. He's usually the one, who will do the apologizing first. But you know, but yeah, I will, we'll apologize, but we know the main thing is that we love each other, and regardless of what happens, we're in this relationship. It's not
Yeah,
about, you
you're
not
in for the long
you
haul.
yeah, it's not about, oh, well, I'm done, I've had enough. It's not.
Yeah,
We've been through too much
yeah.
as a couple.
Mhm,
um their life is thrown at us, and we've
mhm.
come up on top, and we're going to continue. We just sometimes, you're going to have those seasons. You're going to have those seasons where you don't want to look at your spouse.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
husband, my husband and I had a conversation about a week and no, maybe a month ago, about, like I said, he's not a morning person. He will get up, and I'm in my office, and he'll come out of our bedroom, um, and I'll see him come out, and he won't say good morning. I'm like, "Hon." He's like, "Oh, hon, I'm not a morning person." I'm like, "Yeah, but to me, good morning is important, you know."
It's super important. Let me
Yeah.
tell you a story real quick. Sheila. Good morning is super important. I'm with you on that. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of people don't see it that way. Quickly, how important it is to me. In California, in Hollywood, 2017, New Edition getting their Hollywood Walk of Fame star, right? So I'm in the room. You know how women do. It's four of us in the room. We done
Mm-hmm.
traveled to Hollywood. We going to see this, right? So me and my friend are in the same bed. My friend since seventh grade, and then my other best friend and her best friend from childhood are in the other bed. So we're all in there and we're talking. It's a good vibe. Well, we were all going to bed, and I was like, "Good night, everybody." I was like, "Nobody says good night." I was like, "What?" And then I'm like, "Good morning." Ain't nobody saying good morning. So it became a joke where they were like, "Good night," down. It was so funny. So in this day, they would be like, "No, say good night. We just go to sleep." And what we tomorrow is not, I'm all like, it might not be a big deal, for some
Yeah.
people, but then some people it might be. So I get it if you want, because you are starting your day off like that, or good night. But when you say he good morning and you're saying you need him to say good morning, were you
Yeah.
able to come to something? Because that's not a
Yeah.
big deal to somebody, but if it's a big deal to you, then that can be remixed and changed. And a simple good
Exactly.
morning can
And
kind of, yeah.
and that's what and
So
that's what I
I feel
said.
you on that.
And that's what I said to him. I said, he says, "Oh, well, hon, I'm not a morning person." I'm like, "I understand that, but just that's important to me. Like when I go to bed at night, I'll say good night, and usually I'm yelling it, because he's downstairs. I'm like, "Okay, good night, hon. I'm going to bed. Good night," you know. And he'll be like, "Okay, good night, hon." So we'll say good night. So why can't you say good
Yeah,
morning? So now every morning he makes it a conscious effort to say
I
good
love
morning.
it.
Yeah,
I love that. But
yeah.
and that's a simple way you can remix it, because
Hmm.
even if it's not important to you, and if it's important to your mate, and it's not going to cost you nothing.
Right.
It's not going to cost you nothing in just to say good that. So I love that he made the adjustment. And I think in relationships, it's all about adjustments. It's not taking somebody out of who they are, naturally, organically, innately, but certain concessions you do have to make. And it's something as simple as good morning that would make your day go, it'd be a little brighter by saying that, then that's a small thing. So I like that. And I know being together 25 years, there are probably a lot of things like that where you've had to make the adjustment to try to move forward, so you can come to a common place. I wanted to read some things as we, this is definitely a good conversation. So I wanted to talk about, I have my notes here. In real life relationships, many scenarios can be remixed, as I always say on this podcast, because it is a remix in the relationship. I am the remix coach, right? So to promote healthier dynamics by changing perspectives, communication patterns, or responses. And here are some examples of situations that can be remixed. And Sheila and I have been talking about that today. This finale of season 1 of Remixing Relationships. Now, next week, I'm going to ask Sheila about the 13 episodes or 14 episodes and what they say about 13. We're going to do that at the end. So this might be, we might have a teeny small mini episode to take it to 14 before we take a team. Yes. You think that?
Definitely. Okay. You can't end on the 13. You got to be 14.
That's what I said.
Yes. Has to be an even number. Has to be an even number.
That's what I said. All right. So we're on the same page. So this is the official last day of last episode of the podcast with my guests and everything. And I'm going to do a wrap up to close out the season. And then I think I said October 21st, that Monday, we are going to, so it's just going to be a 2-week hiatus, and then we're going to get into season 2. All right. So conflict resolution, we've talked about that today. So that's the way you can remix it. So instead of avoiding conflict or escalating arguments, shift to a collaborative problem-solving situation. Approach disagreements with curiosity, empathy, which is huge, and aiming to understand your partner's perspective instead of trying to prove your point. On this podcast, I've been known to say we are on the same team. We are not in competition. You are not on the red team and I'm on the blue team. You're not on the square team and I'm on the circle team. If we're in a relationship, we're on the same team. So we really have to take a moment to try to understand somebody's perspective. Now, the nature of people, I'm even guilty of myself, you want to say, right? But it's important to get his perspective and her perspective, so you both know where each other is coming from. Don't cut somebody off in the middle of them talking and say, okay, that's enough. Like, no one gets to decide how much is enough. We have to make sure, like, nobody can get their understanding or say what they say. And then when somebody else, I was talking to a girlfriend about this today, right before this, like, some people just want you to talk a certain amount and then be quiet. Don't say no more, just be quiet. And I was talking to her earlier today about, like, if you have to allow the other person too, you can't just cut them off when you feel like they've talked, they've said enough. It's up to both to equally have that. So, and number 2, daily routines and relationships can be remixed. So break out of the monotonous routines. We know that by introducing new activities or rituals. For example, instead of dinner in front of the TV every night, maybe a dinner date, and you take a walk and maybe do something different, eat somewhere else, even switching up something like that and remixing that. So roles and responsibilities, you can remix those as well. Often one partner might handle certain tasks exclusively, which can lead to burnout or imbalance. So remixing different things, whether you're living in the house as you are with your husband, even the emotional responsibilities, redistributing them, so we can foster a shared experience in the relationship. Number 4 on my list is communication styles. If one partner tends to shut down or overreact during serious situations or underreact over serious situations. Try using different communication tools, I statements, and maybe writing a letter, voice notes, to express yourself in that way. Handling stress in relationships. When stress hits, couples may turn inward or take it out on each other. Remixing it could involve creating a support system where both partners engage in stress relief activities together, like exercising, meditation, prayer, or I'm big on simply checking in. When I'm coaching couples, I'm like, you got to check in, a weekly check-in. Like, hey, you good? I'm good. Anything bothering you? What's on your mind? I think that that's extremely important, because you don't want to get down the line 6 months later and somebody was holding something in. And you're like, I didn't know you felt that way. So it's to check in. You have to be long and drawn. Just, you good? Anything that you want to talk about, and go from there.
My husband will ask me that maybe every other day, to the point where, I'm okay. I'm good. He's like, I feel like something's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong. I'm fine. So he does that a lot. He definitely, he's always like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. I'm sometimes I may be doing certain things, but he's like, are you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. To the point, like I said, when I'm like, hon, I'm good. I promise you I'm good. If there's anything wrong, I'll let you know.
Yeah, but that's good that he wants to check in with you to make sure you are good, especially after all these years. I think that that's great. You know what I mean? To check in to say, hey, are you good? You all right? Just to make sure, because he knows you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that that's awesome. Remixing, number 6 on this is affection and intimacy. If physical affection or intimacy has become routine or less frequent, try to explore new ways to express love, such as non-sexual touch, surprise romantic gestures, or scheduling intimate moments to build anticipation. I love that. Like, when we talk about intimacy and foreplay and different things like that, it doesn't have to be sexual, because foreplay can truly start all day. Sexy text messages, kind text messages, talking about whatever you want to talk about, just to make sure that you're present in the relationship. And so many people are just like, hey, how you doing? I'm good. And it's so robotic now.
Right.
People are losing their connection. So I really want to remix that in the relationship. What do you think about that?
I love that. I mean, and sometimes when you're married for a certain period of time, it gets to be routine. And you have to come up with new and different ways, and it's I definitely love that. And my husband and I, we there was a point where we did get into a routine. I'm like, okay. I was just like, okay, we gotta start doing other things, and it kind of we put that fire back into our relationship. That like you said, not that I'm not gonna say the sexual, but just the intimate part of it. That's what it is, and I tell my husband all the time, I love the intimacy. That's important, because it's very important for the intimacy. I think for a woman in general, emotionally for us, we love that, and he understands that, and it's like we have the last couple of years, it's like a new passion, a new fire for one another. And I love that. So I definitely agree with that.
I love it for y'all. Your husband's cool. He's a cool dude. He had me practice. Cool dude. But I think that's so important to remix that intimacy, because intimacy is so important, and it's so vast, and people think just sex, and it's not even. That's the smallest part of it. There's so many intimate moments that couples can have, but then after a while, it starts getting stale, starts getting boring, and you do have to remix that. It's important not to take your partner for granted, and to kind of, do things like you said, to show that they're important and they matter. So I love that you decided, hey, you guys together said, you know what? let's do something different because this routine is getting routiny.
Yeah, it's getting routine. Let's try, I'm not saying jump up the chandeliers, but we got to do,
Right, right. So also, so talking about, so couples out there, if you are mixing finances and everything, I think it's important to remix those. So I'm talking about remixing certain parts, aspects of your relationship to promote healthier dynamics by changing perspective, communication patterns, or responses. So I want to talk about financial decisions. So instead of one person controlling finances or being secretive about money, I was just talking to Charles about that, how I used to financially coach couples, and they would be so secretive when it came to their money. They would be hiding. They would be writing it down separately, showing me on a sticky. Then he would write his and show, like, and I'm like, y'all are a couple, y'all are sitting here together, and it was so many secrets behind money. So I said, being secretive about money and having regular financial meetings where both parties review budgets and goals. Like, hey, every relationship should have a mission statement. What is our mission statement? What are our goals? Like, what are we doing with our
want?
budget? What do we want? Let's budget. Even when I would do couples budgets, I would say make sure you budget for fun. We're not just paying bills here, because that's going to be the quickest way to take the spark out of your marriage. You need to budget for fun. Everybody's finances are different. So somebody's budget might be $500 a week for fun and eating and going and doing, and somebody's might be $50 a week, depending on what you have, but budget that in there, because relationships can get stale once again, and you're not pushing the needle forward.
Right.
And it's important to be able to do that. Open conversations about money help build trust and ensure shared financial responsibilities. Number 8, cultural and family expectations. In cases where family or culture is the norm, making sure you remix by establishing boundaries. If you don't want somebody's mama over there every day, you don't want somebody's daddy, somebody's brother, aunt, sister, cousin, everybody's over there, set boundaries for your relationship. And you can also create new traditions and honor both partners' values, backgrounds, while maintaining autonomy. So it's important to do that. Almost done. 9, socializing. We can remix that. If one partner, as we were talking about with you, your husband, if one partner is more social and prefers alone time, remix, balancing, spending time together, encouraging each other to nurture different parts, as well as accommodating both people, because you don't want a relationship, and you, like you were saying earlier, and one person is getting what they need and the other isn't. You want to respect both people to be able to get it, so you can have those moments where you can come together and be better partners. Did you find you guys were better partners when you were able to remix things a little bit with that? I know you said you like to go out, he likes to stay inside. Did you have a compromise?
Yes, I mean, he's done a little bit more coming out, and he likes, the thing is, he likes to be with me. If it's me, he likes it with me. But if other people's around, he doesn't really like that. But he likes when we're together. I'm very into health and fitness, and though my husband doesn't work out.
Let's tell people how much you lost naturally, how you came off medication. I think that should be celebrated, because health and fitness wasn't always a thing that you put first and foremost. And now tell them how much you lost naturally.
Oh my goodness.
Did things remix when you lost all that weight, and you threw them medicine in the trash? Let's talk about that.
Listen, girl, yes. I lost what? I was like, oh my goodness, 230 something pounds. And I lost about, I want to say, a good 80, 90 pounds now that I am naturally. Eating right, working out. I changed my whole diet. I had type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol. And I mean, I was on the type 2 diabetes where I was taking a physical pill 3 times a day. I was taking insulin every night, and I was doing what they call like a once a week shot.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing
Yeah.
all the time. And I take, I had actually, I had, it got to a point where I couldn't stick myself every day. I had a monitor on that
Mhm.
I would hooked up to my phone, and I would just check my sugar because it was just, that's how I had to do it, because I'd be sticking myself every day, or I mean,
Yeah.
every 25 minutes, just checking
Yeah.
to make sure my sugar was okay.
But now, but
And
now,
now,
she
none
lost
of that.
9 pounds naturally. I remember the day she called me, was like, remember you were like, I am off
I
my
I'm off
medication.
my medicine. It was so freeing. It was
Yeah.
so freeing, and I I, I thank I thank God for that, because you have to be you have to first of all, you have to be willing to do it. No one can make you do it. You
Yeah.
have to be ready to do it for
Yeah.
yourself. And it was just I had enough of it. I mean, my where I would take my blood glucose, and it would be 300. One time was 400, which is very, very high. I mean,
What's
people
the
have had
norm?
strokes, anywhere between, like, um when you wake up in the morning, it should be no more than 100. Maybe, when you wake up in the morning after you eat, maybe 120.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was 400, where,
Wow.
people are going into comas, and I'm walking around saying, "Oh, I'm not feeling well. I'm a little dizzy." I remember I had to have rotator cuff surgery one year, and this is when I first was diagnosed with it. And they told me if my sugar was too high, when they couldn't do the surgery. And thank God I think it was like 240, and they were able to do the surgery. But with all of that said, I decided enough was enough. And I asked God to give me the strength, and I started working out little by
Mm-hmm.
little. And my goal, Kendall, was, I had always went to the gym, all through my whole, all life, on and off, go to the gym. And I see these people on the treadmill, and they're just running. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. And I want to be able to go out in the street and run around the track and
Mm-hmm.
not get tired and winded. And right now, I can go on the treadmill and I could run 30 minutes straight.
Come on.
I, I can never do that. I
Oh,
could run around the track and not be out of breath,
come on.
and to me, that's a blessing. I feel great. My body
Yeah.
feels great.
Yeah.
Um, my husband constantly says how wonderful I look. And
Oh.
don't get me wrong, he always would say that to me,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's like, "Hon, you look amazing,"
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I remember I went into the office one day. I work from home, and I went into the office one day, and some of the people didn't even recognize me. They didn't know who I was because I lost so much weight. Now, can
Wow.
you imagine being unrecognizable because you
Wow.
lost so much weight?
Wow.
And it's a testament. And like I said, I am so with health and fitness and eating
Yeah,
right, and
you are.
and taking care of your body. And I just wish that was something that I was taught, or I knew years ago. But
But you
maybe it
know,
wasn't for me to know then. And no, I
you know,
know now, right?
that's what's important. You know now. You changed your
Exactly.
now. You
I
changed your now. You changed your
Mhm.
future. So
Yes.
it doesn't matter what you didn't do. You did it now, and you do look amazing. I mean, I know it ain't the same. I ain't your husband, but you look amazing. You look
Thank you.
amazing. You do.
And
You look
and I
amazing.
and it's not even about looking, it's the fact that I feel,
Feeling,
I can walk up a flight of stairs and my knees are not hurting, And again, like I said, I wanted to be able to get on that treadmill for 30 minutes straight and run, not walk, not do a nice job, run after working out. And I can do that.
Yeah.
And I love that,
Yeah.
you know. And I do. I feel stronger. There's things that that I can do. I mean, I was telling my trainer I was able when I took an aerial yoga class where I was upside down doing
Mm,
yoga on a hammock or something. I would
mm.
never have thought in my life to do that. I
I
took a
love-
spin class, you know,
Yeah.
and able to
I'm
keep up.
proud of you. I really am. I'm really proud of you. And you remixed your life.
Yes.
You
And I'm going to
remixed
tell you,
your
if I could do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Because trust me, I just listen. It- if I could do it, and it's just now, it's like I don't know what to do if I'm not working out.
Yeah.
It's become my part of my life, and
Yeah.
I'm not preaching it. I'm not saying there's certain people who want to be a certain way and want to live fine. Me, this is what I do, and
Yeah.
my husband realizes that now. He's like, "Hon, let's go for a walk." So
Yeah.
now that's something we can do together because I
Yeah.
love to walk.
I love that. But it's you're meeting each other where you are.
Hmm.
And what's important to you is important to him, and what's important to him is important to you.
Hmm.
And I think essentially that is a good partnership, because
Yes,
a marriage or relationship is a partnership, right?
exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's not all about one person. It's, it'll shift where it's about that person. We give that person it all, then they give it to us.
Hmm.
Like we were saying earlier, it's not a 50-50 thing. Some people might only have 10% to give, and the other person has to
Yeah.
carry the 90. Some days it may be 50-50,
Hmm.
60
And
40.
no, and some days, and you say days, it may be years that you got a
Yeah,
person giving 10 and
oh,
you giving 90.
that's real.
Hmm.
That's real. That's some real stuff right there. That's
Yeah.
real. So I'm going to do number 10, and then we're going to give you the final say. So the 10 on the list. So my list was remixing to promote healthy dynamics by changing perspectives, communication patterns, and responses and relationships. Because we're talking about remixing relationships, real life
Hmm.
scenarios, as Sheila has shared, graciously shared about her life and her marriage. And I think that that's phenomenal, because you are going to help someone. All right, so remix your relationship. We talk about personal growth and individuality. Relationship can sometimes cause partners to lose themselves. Remixing this dynamic would encourage um, each other together and separately to have hobbies and growth, and nurture the relationship and each other's needs in partnership. Each scenario can be remixed by shifting mindsets, behaviors to promote healthier,
Hmm.
more balanced, loving relationships. Because essentially, that's what we want. We want
Yeah.
relationships to last. We're going to be clear, relationships are not always easy. It's two people coming from two backgrounds, two
Hmm.
experiences, two families of origin, two dynamics, two hurts and pains and traumas and childhood, this and that. Is
Hmm.
two people coming together. But how can you work effectively to promote and to foster a healthy relationship within your relationship? Now, healthy relationships don't mean they're going to be perfect. It means
Yeah.
that you're striving to communicate and do the things to promote your relationship to be healthy. And sometimes you got to remix it, switch it up, and learn to
Hmm.
do things differently. You got the final say, my dear. What is what is the most significant remix that you've done in your relationship that you can think of?
Woo. Wow. Recovering, I think the recovering from the loss of a child
Mhm.
and how that affected our relationship,
Mhm.
and how we literally had to realize that it wasn't something that we did.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that I did. It wasn't something that my husband did. It wasn't even something that God did.
Mm.
But we were so angry
Yeah.
um, at ourselves and each other that we literally had to we literally had to learn how to be a husband and a wife again.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
You know, they people say that when after you have the loss of a child that
Mm.
they usually will marriages don't last after that.
Yeah.
And though we went through a hard time, we came out ahead. We pushed past it. We
Mm-hmm.
have, God blessed us with a beautiful, a beautiful child, and
Mm-hmm.
um that we have now, and we were able to get past it, and that was one of I think the biggest things for both of us,
Yeah.
because we didn't know how to go on as a as husband and wife, because we had been parents, and though we had to learn how to become husband and wife again, and not and learn how to talk to each other,
Mm-hmm.
and come together and not let that tear us apart. And once we were able to do all of that, God blessed us again.
Mm.
And so just
Mm.
know that there's going to be, and I've said this, you've said this, marriage, if people think marriage is easy, it's not. If you think you're going to go in and it's going to be the same as if you were the boyfriend or the girlfriend or it's not. It's getting up and understanding that the person that you're laying with may get up and they may not be in the best of moods, and it has nothing to do with you. It just may be they may not, maybe they had a dream. Sometimes at night I wake up, I'll have a dream that'll put me in a mood, and my husband will be like, well, what happened? You were okay when you went to bed. But it could have been a dream I had. But it's just know there are things that happen in life, and as long as you have that strong partner with you, you can get through it. But you have to be able to understand, you have to give as much as you are taking. You have to give more than what you want to, you have to pour more into that relationship. It's
Mhm.
not always going to be, and it's not 50-50. It's not always going to be beautiful sunny skies. It's going to be rainy. It may be years that you have a rainy season, but eventually the sun's going to shine, and you'll get past it. But you have to get past it. Marriage is till death do us part. Remember that. And and I say this, unless it's an abusive relationship, unless or where you're fearful for your health, your health,
Mhm.
your children. But there's, come together, you know pray together, ask God for guidance.
Yeah.
And before you and I always say this, I asked for God to send me a husband, but I needed to be learn how to be a wife first.
Mm.
And if you want to be a wife, you want a husband, learn how to be a wife first.
Come
You want a wife, learn how to be a husband first.
come
Because what
on.
it say in the word, a man that finds a wife finds a
He
good thing,
finds it a good thing.
you
He said
know,
a good thing.
a
I'm gonna
good
add that.
thing.
No.
That's it. That's
That's
it.
it.
Just know
Love it.
that, you know, y- it's, it can be done. There are people who are married longer than I am. I've
Mhm.
been, you know. So it can be. If you find you ask God for that right person, He's going to see you the person that belongs to you. And I say belongs to you.
Yes, belongs to you. I love that. And yes, we are live. I thank you so much. I don't know how you've been holding that left hand up, that rock on that finger so
Oh,
big. Good. I don't
it's
even know how you holding it out. You don't got no ace bandage around that wrist holding that big old rock up. Good grief, girl.
yeah. Yeah.
That thing is sparkling and shining. That thing is
I
like
got
you got a little bus on your little
a
bus
little
on
what?
your bus.
Yeah. Thank you.
I
Thank
love it.
you.
I love it. But Sheila, you gave some excellent advice, and I thank you for being open and honest and sharing. I didn't know that you were. I knew about the baby. I didn't know you were going to talk about that, and I appreciate you
Mm-hmm.
sharing that on this platform, because there's somebody out there who is in a marriage or relationship. They lost a child,
Mm-hmm.
and they are at each other's throats, like you said. Statistically, relationships break up
Yeah.
when you find out a child is sick, or a child is has disabilities, or a
Mm-hmm.
child passes away. It's difficult for relationships to stay together, marriages to stay together, and you guys can look up those statistics. So for you all to be able to made it through that storm, and if you want to know more about some of the storms that they've gone through, her and her husband that she's
Yes.
talking about now, they were both on my podcast Shine with Kendall Anise in its 11th season, as we focused on relationships. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, watch that, and you'll be able to put now a face to who she is talking about. But you guys overcame so much,
Yeah.
and to be able to remix your relationship this late and do things differently, and to give each other grace and continue to keep loving each other is really inspiring. To say that certain things weren't healthy, but you
Mm-hmm.
have gone into healthy relationships, and even situations, and that's what I want people to understand. If some parts are unhealthy, you can make them healthy, right? If some parts were, you can remix and you can continue through that. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean a healthy relationship doesn't mean a perfect relationship. It's
Right.
you're striving to do that, to be in the healthiest relationship possible, so both of you can benefit and get the most that you can get from each other and from life, so you can do life together in a healthy
Health.
way.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
Sheila, tell the people about your podcast, and thank you
Yes.
for kind
Yes.
words.
My
And
Sheila's
how
Take podcast. New episodes come out every Wednesday. I have an episode coming out this Wednesday that I um interviewed this young lady who was a blessing. She was in a car accident, and she pulled through, and God helped her get through it, and now she's helping others. It's this Wednesday, my YouTube channel, Sheila's Take, or you can catch the video on YouTube, or you can catch the podcast audio, which is on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's on every
it's
streaming
everywhere.
platform possible. My Instagram is Sheila's Take, Sheila's underscore take. My email is Sheila's hyphen take.com. And my Facebook, Sheila's Take. So please, you can follow me on those platforms, or reach out to Kendall and she can send you my information. But definitely check out my podcast. Again, it's every Wednesday, new episode, and I'm in my season 4. Thank you.
And tell them about your book. Tell them about
Oh
your
well.
book.
Oh, wait.
Tell them
Wait.
about your book.
Listen. Let me get it
Tell them
right
what it's
here.
called. Tell them what it's called. Tell them what
My
it's called.
book, What I've Learned About and From My Mother Through the Personal Journey as Her Child. I'm in here. I wrote about my mother, Miss Maddie Green. God rest her soul, passed away in 2020. So please go get this. It's on Amazon. And thank you, Kendall, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have my first published piece. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. So y'all better not walk, but run to Amazon.com.
Run.
Get the book. I dedicated it to my mom. So many amazing people celebrated their moms in their book. It's not just for Mother's Day. It's a gift that keeps on giving. Whether
That's
you
right.
had a mom, you didn't have a mom, you lost your mom, you need some motherly advice, some reassurance, you want to laugh, you want to cry. It's a great book to have, and it's even a better gift to give. The holiday season is coming up. Go to Amazon, get the book, and just start passing them out like cards.
That's right. That's right.
And show the love. Sheila, I thank you so much. And you're a patient. You're welcome. You are welcome. Everybody, thank you so much for listening to Remixing Relationships. So this is going to be the official, as we talked about last episode of the season, but I will be to you next week, and we're going to recap because we're going to end it with 14 episodes for season 1. Going to take a quick hiatus, and we're going to come back with season 2. I have some great things for you for season 2 of Remixing Relationships. So thank you for joining me today as we explored new ways to remix and strengthen our relationships. Remember, healthy connections are always within reach, and together we can create the love and life you desire. I am Kendall Anisha, Fave Life Coach, the Remix Coach, with a reminder, the power to transform is in your hands. Your relationship is your relationship. You do it how you want to do it, what works for you. Until next time, God bless y'all. Peace. Thank you. All right. And remember, stay tuned. We have news. I'm working on a project. I brought Sheila along in it. It's going to be amazing.
Yes.
So we will make the announcement soon. It's going to be something like you've never seen. Before. It's going to be good. I can't wait to share it with y'all. All right. God bless y'all. Thank you, Sheila.
God bless you.
I appreciate you. Thank you for watching, everybody. If you're watching it live, playback, please put your comments and questions in there, and we will answer them still, even if it's not live. All right, y'all.